5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at freedomtalkradio.net.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Zam here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Surrounded by Idiots, right here on Saturday night at 5 p.m. You'll have to apologize if I sound a little bit rushed, because I am. We had a problem with one of the computers just before I came on the air, and we were waiting for it to sort itself out. Fortunately, we are running good operating systems, so the system self-recovered. At any rate, as you can see, the camera is up and running, and it is not on me tonight because I didn't feel like getting all dressed up to sit in front of a camera for a while. So instead, you get to see our amazing studio mixing board, and hopefully that will placate the audience. You have to excuse me if my voice sounds a little bit rough. As most of you know, I have an issue with my voice at times when I have been talking too much, as I have been today, because we have done a bunch of stuff over at freedomtalkradio.net, our fabulous website. For those of you that would like to possibly do a internet radio show, or any type of radio show, you probably are wondering exactly how you do something like this, how you broadcast on Spreaker, how you get all of the really cool sound effects like what we have here. And other things to put on the air. There's a lot of people that do internet shows, and they're always asking questions. How exactly do you do what you do? Well, we've started to put together an entire page of video tutorials. You can see it right there on the video feed of the show. Incidentally, we are, those of you that are listening to the archive on YouTube, you probably aren't seeing the video because we don't upload them anymore. We upload them to freedomtalkradio.net under the Surrounded by Idiots category at the site. If you head over to the website, click on Hosts and Shows, then Saturday, and then Bill Zam is Surrounded by Idiots, you can observe the video feed live. We are currently broadcasting the video feed at approximately 600 kilobits per second. So it takes a fairly robust internet connection to be able to see everything at a full stream. If you do not have one of those, you can listen to the audio version of the show instead. The title of the page that I'm talking about is called Spreaker and Broadcasting Tutorials. It basically shows you how to operate the Spreaker system, which is what we use to do our broadcasts, as well as set up your computer for things like stereo mix, so that you can use your Skype to get callers on the air and be able to play music and things like that so people can hear it over the air. The other way that you can do it is to use a mixing board. I have a generic how to set up a mixing board video up on the page right now at the website freedomtalkradio.net, but tomorrow I will be recording a video of how to hook up a soundboard like the brand that we have, which is a Behringer Xenix 802. We sell these through the website, through our Amazon.com store. So we support the equipment that we sell through the website, and we will have all kinds of information about that and other things as we go forward, and I begin teaching people how to do internet shows, because it's actually a lot of fun. Now, let's get on to the show and get our show notes up and running here so that you can see what I am talking about as I talk about it. Hold on one moment, please. Because my voice is giving me problems, frequently I have to hit the cough button and grab a drink of water or a similar beverage in order to be able to keep my voice going, so that I can actually do the show for a respectable amount of time. Now, there's been a lot of information and talk about the General Motors problem with the ignition switches on some of their vehicles. Here in the Detroit area, where we are, in southeastern Michigan, in Saline, Michigan, to be specific, which is where the Saline Entertainment Television Group originates from, we have a fair amount more information than the general public does around the country, because we have some outstanding authors and investigators and reporters in this area. One of them specifically is Keith Crane of Automotive News. I believe their website's automotivenews.com. He's been around for years. I've been reading him and his columns for years because I am an automotive aficionado and buff. But there's some aspects of this General Motors deal that sort of seems like it's not getting covered very well. Keith Crane has been covering it, and I heard him on the radio earlier this week, and he was talking about all the stuff that's going on with these hearings and with General Motors and liabilities as far as the problems go, and exactly who's going to pay when people start suing, quite justifiably, I might add, because this problem was apparently covered up by the corporation, and it allowed people to be in danger and people to die. And since people rely on the automotive companies to provide them with a certain amount of safety in the vehicles, this is quite unacceptable. So somebody is going to have to take responsibility, and if it takes monetary action, then it takes monetary action. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that even though it says General Motors, the old General Motors no longer exists. The company that made the decision to use these ignition switches and ignore the problem no longer exists. So who do you sue? Do you sue the new company? Did they assume all of the liabilities of the old company? Not so fast, if that's what you think. In my opinion, this entire fiasco is yet another example of a great big giant fail for this administration, and I'll explain why I think that as I go forward in attempting to explain this the best that I can. Now, here's the deal. This bankruptcy with General Motors, it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when all of this went down, because there were a lot of situations that had to do with the finances, with the bondholders, some of the stockholders, and whatnot, that got a lot of people upset. And there were ultimatums given by the government in order for them to be able to get the bailout and proceed with the bankruptcy and everything. In the end, General Motors, the company that originally produced the vehicles that are the subject of the current problems, no longer exists. The original company was basically taken over by the United States government. That's why everybody was calling it Government Motors. Thus, one would assume they also took on all of the assets as well as the liabilities that were related to recalls and such. So there may be some culpability to the federal government for this. And I would say that, well, I'm not going to say that yet because that's a little bit farther on in this particular commentary. So now we have a big hoop-de-doo over the ignition issues of the vehicles that the old General Motors produced, which was bought out by the government and then purchased by General Motors LLC. Now, since they're as I understand it, currently a limited liability corporation, the question remains, can they be sued for this? Does their limited liability cover this? Can anyone expect to get a settlement from General Motors in their lifetimes? Perhaps the CEO at General Motors, the current one, the lady, perhaps she will insist that General Motors settles with the injured parties. Who knows? I don't know what goes on in her mind, what her moral stance on all of this is, or anything else. I'm just talking from a potential legal viewpoint here. But now, consider this. Considering that the government was involved with this and the bailout and everything. Was this whole bankruptcy thing, considering how many people have been injured and the types of cars, and don't forget to add in the Cash for Clunkers program, where a lot of people bought these cars under the Cash for Clunkers program, and which was basically run by the government. Just suppose this whole bankruptcy thing was a clever ruse to keep the ignition problem under wraps for as long as possible. Now, we all know this is how the government operates. And the old General Motors was a big, clunky corporation that was under the thumb of the government at the time. And just to show that this is a legal mess waiting to happen, the United States, under the direction of Barack Obama, agreed to back all warranties of both Chrysler and General Motors. Pardon me. And it goes like this. On March 29, 2009, the U.S. Treasury committed to fund a government guarantee of General Motors warranty liabilities up to $360.6 million in U.S. funds. On May 27, 2009, the Treasury advanced a secure loan of $360.6 million to GM, and GM issued a note to the Treasury for $360.6 million plus $24.1 million as additional compensation for warranty advance pursuant to the terms of the warranty agreement dated December 28, 2008. Following that so far? There's money flying around all over the place. The Treasury gives $360 million to GM, and then GM gives $360 million back, and then gives them an additional $24.1, and the government funds the guarantee of warranty liabilities, which this ignition system problem would seem to fall under. Let me see. The agreement dated December 31st, 2008 between GM and the U.S. Treasury. The loan funded a separate account established by GM Warranty LLC, another limited liability corporation, a new special purpose subsidiary of GM that was formed to operate the warranty program. GM also on May 29, 2009 contributed $49.2 million to the GM Warranty LLC to fund the program. So the question remains, who the heck is going to be responsible for these liabilities? Now let's take a look at what Keith Crane of Automotive News said. Here is a, let me see here. Nope, I don't have that particular article up at their website. At any rate, there'll be a link up at our website, freedomtalkradio.net, under the Surrounded by Idiots 4514 post on the website. Now, this is from February of this year. This is before all of this became public news. So this has been floating around as an issue for quite a while. It's only recently come to a head, or more appropriately, come to the attention of the mass media. And I'm not going to say anything about that at all. And anyways, this is what Keith Crane said back in February. This issue is not about a faulty switch. Car companies have been dealing with defective parts and recalls for decades. This doesn't even rank in the top 10 of all-time recalls. A far more serious issue is whether GM executives knew about the defective switches and crashes long ago, and someone at GM tried to keep the whole issue quiet. And this is where I'm going to mention what I didn't mention a little while ago, and that is this. Did the government do their due diligence when they took over General Motors and Chrysler and examined this particular problem? Did the old General Motors hide this problem from the U.S. government? Because I guarantee you, it is my opinion that if the public had become aware of the extent of this problem and the number of people that were having injuries and dying from this, and that General Motors had been keeping it under wraps, I guarantee you that there would have been such a hue and cry that General Motors would have been allowed to cease existence at that point. That's how many people would have been highly, highly upset. So, did the government help GM hide this issue in order to preserve the existence of General Motors and a large portion of the U.S. economy? So, let me repeat from Keith Crane's article. Far more serious is whether GM executives knew about the defective switches and crashes long ago, and someone at GM tried to keep the whole issue secret. If that's the case, GM has some serious splaining to do. Are some current or former executives responsible for far more than just a defective part? If, on the other hand, GM was just trying to simply get the facts as quickly as possible, it would appear to be a tragic but ordinary recall. GM is going to have to try to convince its dealers and customers there was not a cover-up, because right now everybody seems to be out for blood. And from what we've seen in Washington this past week with the testimonies, indeed, people are out for blood, especially the families involved with these issues. They're out for blood and they're out for money. And my question still remains on the table. Who is responsible for paying the money? Who's going to get sued? The old GM doesn't exist. So the new GM is not the old GM, so they don't have those liabilities because the federal government bought everything from General Motors, and then a new corporation was started and everything was sold to the new corporation. So who ultimately has the final responsibility for paying out to the victims of this? And who would be paying the fines? It would seem to me that the government needs to pay the fines themselves because they assumed the responsibility for all the warranties for the old GM. Often, continuing with the article here, often the worst damage to an automaker's reputation is not from the initial defect, but from someone somewhere trying to cover up what happened. I cannot imagine any corporate penalty severe enough for anyone involved in a cover-up affecting the safety and lives of GM customers. That's the end of my quote from Keith Crane's article. What is even more important, as I said just a few minutes ago, did the government do its due diligence when working on the bankruptcy with the old General Motors? Did the government know about this before now? And if so, why has nobody in the administration come forward with details? And I suspect that you and I both know the answer to that. Moving on, in fact, I am going to play a quick, let me see here. A quick little, I am going to play a song for a few minutes so I can clear my throat and get my voice a little bit more under control, because I can hear that my voice is giving me some problems. So I'm going to play a song called "We're Not Afraid of Smart Monkeys." How'd you like that professional sounding fade out of the music? It's one of the other things that you can do with the equipment that we have and the tutorials that we have at the website. Moving on to my next topic, which I believe is going to be my last topic, because I'm only good for about a half an hour today because of my scratchy throat, and you probably don't want to hear me lose my voice live on the air, so I'm only going to go for a half an hour because I've been doing a lot of talking during the day today, which I should not have done. I know better, but it's the way it is. I, like many people, probably like you, I've been brainwashed, and I would suspect so have you. Brainwashed, just not to say what I think and believe about subjects that the powers that be don't want us talking about. Consider that you come across your various old people, like, for instance, as an example, somebody that I know that is older than I, by about, let's say, 16 to 20 years older than I am, somebody that I know very well. I won't give out any names, but I'm sure the clever among you can figure out who it is. The older people, they speak their mind. They don't give a crap. They'll say what they think, and that's that. People my age, around 55, we have a tendency to sort of think twice about doing things, about saying things, about using our free speech rights as guaranteed under the Constitution. The kids these days, they've been brainwashed totally to be what is called politically correct. That's what I mean by brainwashing. People have been brainwashed into being politically correct when there is no reason for it, no moral reason whatsoever to do that. It's all it is pandering to small activist groups. And we're guaranteed free speech. We are allowed to say whatever we want, and we are also allowed to protect anybody else. Even if we don't agree with what they say, they still have the right of free speech. These days, if you speak out, you get pounded on. We've seen all of the warnings. Make a stupid video and you get arrested and held without trial and have a major international incident blamed on you. Speak your mind and get attacked by the powers that be using the typical tactics. Separate from the herd, ridicule, and destroy through a variety of methods, including audits, mystery viruses on your computer, wrong house police raids, super mysterious happenings while driving, etc. And now, my business partner over there in the UK is being attacked for his point of view. You see, there are two kinds of these attacks that are being done, and some of them have been tried on me without success. The first kind is the idiots on the internet that feel it is their responsibility to destroy your site, attack your computer, start rumors about you, and shill about you to no end. Then there's the government-style attacks that shut down your access to websites and interrupt your communications, where your internet mysteriously goes out just as you're about to go on the air. It's hard to say which is worse, to be honest with you, the government that's supposed to represent us, not attack us, or the idiots on the internet who feel it is their duty to destroy lives and websites. Sadly, once either one destroys you, it's pretty hard to come back. Which comes to mind that a strong offense is the best defense, which is why I always mention when something like that has happened, to bring it to light, to expose them, because remember, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and we have to put the sunlight of exposure on a lot of these things that are going on. The last thing that I'm going to touch on, and this is going to be on the website, the full my full copy of the show notes, copyright 2014, will be on the website after the show. This past week, everybody started dancing and sending out the dancing cats and the Alex Jones dancers because it was announced, breathlessly I might add, that Obamacare had suddenly reached, overnight, 7 million sign-ups. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. The day before, they only had like 2 million, if that. And then all of a sudden, everybody decided, I got to get health care by midnight tonight. So everybody signed up. Woo! Not so fast, bucko. here's what happened. The government started applications for millions of people without their knowledge and without their asking for it, and then sent them a letter. Hey, we started your application. All you got to do is go there and finish the application. We started it for you. So you already got an account there over at the healthcare.gov website, or Obamacare, or the Unaffordable Health Care Act. At any rate, over at SharkTank.com, Javier Manjarres wrote something on April 4th. HHS started individual Obamacare applications prior to the deadline, obtained personal information from the states. So the states, say Michigan, gave the HHS your personal information, and the government used that information to start the application for you. And I have here, let me go down and scroll to it here. Here is actually an image of the letter that they've been saying. Right here, and you can see a lot of this stuff has been blocked out. You can see it comes from the Health Insurance Marketplace right there. The Health Insurance Marketplace right there. Department of Health and Human Services in Kentucky. Right here is that address right there. And this says, Dear blank, confirm your information to get your health care coverage eligibility results. You submitted an application for health care coverage or made a change to your eligibility information. Your state sent your information over a secure transaction to the health insurance marketplace because you or someone on your application doesn't qualify for Medicaid or Children's Health Insurance Program. So in other words, you go to your state, you don't qualify for the Medicare or Medicaid, and the government goes ahead and signs you up for their government health care, just as a special favor. That's where the 7 million sign-ups came from overnight, because apparently they were working behind the scenes. So if you didn't qualify for something in your state, you probably got an account at the government-run healthcare site, even if you don't want it. So that's not a good thing, in my opinion. I don't like government just stepping in and just willy-nilly doing things for you when you didn't ask them to. Fortunately, I have my own health care insurance. I have purchased my own individual plan. And we're not going to talk about that tonight, because then I'm going to start shouting and make my voice even worse. So, at any rate, this is about where I'm going to end tonight's episode after about a half an hour. I want to thank everybody for showing up and bothering to listen. Those of you that are there, we did do a lot of advertising this week. So hopefully we do have a few people in the audience, and we'll be picking up many more at the YouTube and during the on the archives of the show. So, at any rate, I also want to thank everybody for their birthday wishes. I had a birthday recently, and I appreciate everybody's well wishes. And I will also remind you, go on over to freedomtalkradio.net and click on the video tutorials link. It's a pretty cool thing that we're doing, I think, and everybody's working very hard on it, from Andy Peacher to all of my cats to myself, and I think there's even a couple of raccoons involved on this particular project that we're doing with all of the tutorials of how to broadcast on Spreaker, set up stereo mix, set up a mixing board, and everything else that's needed to do an internet radio show. So, at any rate, my name is Bill Zam. Remember, whenever you go outside, wear your sunglasses and a baseball cap, because it screws with the facial recognition software in the drones. My name is Bill Zam. Have a good week and a good evening and a good rest of the weekend, and we are out.